This watch is like a bidet. Many of us appreciate it and know it will serve its purpose very well, but we're not a fan of water or anything in general attacking us down there. Probably not the best way to start this video. So here is another high-end microbrand offering. In the past, I've been disappointed with watches in this category because large sums of money were being asked for shoddy workmanship. As a result, I've turned down a lot of these unknown brands, but Horage has been getting some recognition from the community recently, kinda, so I figured there must be some reason why. With that said, here is the Horage Autark 10 years limited edition, and full disclosure, this video is not sponsored by Horage nor a bidet company, so nothing was given to me as this is just a loaner. Now when I first got this watch in, quite honestly there was nothing that immediately grabbed my attention. No wow or cool factor, just another watch to put it simply. The design is rather simple with a couple of quirks like an integrated bracelet and visible complications on the dial. You see a colorful power reserve indicator down at 6 and a double disc day complication at 3, which all rest on a brushed anthracite finish. For the indices, we have applied numerals, which makes it lean on the semi-formal side, but what's interesting is that the font was actually custom designed by Horage, so it's not some generic set of numbers. Aside from that, something that does interest me about this watch is the movement. The Autark runs on the K1 movement, which is in-house and COSC certified with paperwork showing its specs and test results. The majority of it is machine finished, which is to be expected, but it is nicely done. Clean, crisp edges, and even finishing throughout. Now there is some hand finishing visible through its englazing on the black gold plated brush bridges. It's nothing hot horology level in terms of the polish, but it is a nice surprise and definitely adds dimension to this caliber. I've handled and put other so-called in-house microbrand movements under the macro lens, but they often had damaged screw heads, dust, smudges, etc. throughout. If you're going to develop a movement, it should be done properly since poor finishing being called in-house is the same as saying this crap is what you can expect from our brand. The K1 thankfully doesn't have these issues, and Horage also plans to make the K1 movement accessible to other brands. To me, this gives off the impression that they're clearly confident enough in their work for others to utilize as well. Now what's housing this caliber is a 39mm titanium case with a lug-to-lug of 47.5, but it has an integrated bracelet with links that stick out slightly, so it has a wristband of around 50.5mm. A little larger than what most prefer for a dressier watch, but it doesn't feel all that substantial because it's only 10.5mm thick. Pair that up with the titanium construction and you have a very lightweight timepiece that only weighs 70 grams. A large proponent of what makes this possible is the case design. It's not a single piece of metal that's milled out, but rather a 3-piece construction comprised of a top plate, center case, and bottom plate. From what I was told, the objective was to make the Autark as thin as possible while accommodating the K1 movement, which meant the need for multiple case sections in order to retain defined edges. If the case was a single piece, then either thickness or integrity of straight edges may have been compromised to hold the movement. So by utilizing multiple parts, nothing's compromised. This is a respectable feat of engineering since the tolerances need to be that much tighter in order for parts to fit properly and ensure that no moisture seeps into the watch. We see this type of casing in much higher end watches like the Code 1159 series by AP, obviously not to the same degree, but similar nonetheless. So based on the details on how the Autark is made, along with the visible finishing, it's clear that extensive work was put into its production. Horage could have taken the easy way out by using a solid case at the cost of slight added thickness, forgoing proprietary machinery, and using pre-built calibers like Sellita or ETA, but they didn't. They built the watch without compromising the specs that they had in mind. This Autark retails for 3,500 Swiss francs, which roughly converts to why do brands keep using Swiss francs? Is it worth it to you? I don't know, it's your money. But for me, the Autark is not something that I would add to my own collection, and the reason isn't because of quality. Quality is there, it has to do with design, hence I own the Datejust 16234 and not this Autark to provide perspective as to what kind of watch you can get in this price range. I'm not a fan of titanium or thin watches because I like some wrist presence, which completely goes against the motivation behind the Autark. I also prefer round or stick indices over Arabic numerals, and the layout of complications on the dial is a bit too quirky for me. I guess the best way to put it is, the Autark doesn't have some factor that would really draw me into it. In fact, I think the original Autark is a lot more interesting because of the bezel. It resembles a Vacheron 222 bezel, yes, but I'd rather have that over the smooth bezel because it just gives so much more character to the watch. Something that would really tempt me is if Horage used their K2 movements instead of their K1. I feel that the K2 has a more interesting architecture based on the bridge finishing and that micro rotor, not something that we often find in watches in this price range. The only thing where I feel some improvements could be made is the bracelet and clasp. Even though it's titanium, it feels tinny, so the links could definitely be tightened up to reduce unnecessary play. The clasp also feels a bit weak. Now, it hasn't failed on me, but I always find myself giving an extra push just to make sure that it's properly closed. So in the end, I had the Autark on its supplied leather strap because I think it suits the design better and it also comes on a secure feeling deployment. Although not my taste, being able to try out this watch for a few weeks definitely opened my eyes as to what this brand can do. Just because the Autark is something that I wouldn't buy right now, doesn't mean that Horage won't release something in the future that will appeal to me more. So I'll definitely be keeping my eyes open for future releases from Horage. So that's about it. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Do follow me on Instagram at Lume_shot, and I'll see you guys in the next video.